Report from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. Update on Brandon Ayuk. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the 49ers have a deal on a potential trade, and Pittsburgh is in a good place on an Ayuk contract, sources say. If San Francisco gives the final sign-off, it's done, and Ayuk is a Steeler. Also, as part of that, San Francisco has an offer out to Ayuk on a long-term deal for him to stay. He has not accepted. So there are a couple of ways in which this could go for San Francisco. Number one, the Niners could trade Ayuk to the Steelers, and it would long end a big controversy this offseason that has been a long and windy road and a roller coaster. And it would end a marriage between the Niners and Ayuk that has resulted in a lot of great football, a lot of explosive plays, seeing Ayuk become an all-pro player, him being a focal point of this offense.
Let's get at it on a Tuesday. Jerry Reynolds. Tuesday. Court is in session. Ryan in Sacktown with you. My voice starting to come back. The pneumonia is clearing. Finally. Excited to have Jerry here in a little bit. He's going to join us around 2:30. We're brought to you today by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland. Make sure you go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com for more information on their other locations, menu specials, and much more. A lot to talk about. Remember last week, we talked about Brandon Ayuk, and we talked about the situation surrounding him, which has been a little bit of a roller coaster this offseason, dating back to the draft. And now, as we said last week, we had 3 reports that contract negotiations opened back up. They were talking again, the Niners and Brandon Ayuk. Remember, Ayuk looking for about $30 million a year to put him up in the top tier with other receivers around the NFL. Tyreek Hill reworking his deal. We've got a little something from Tyreek here in a minute. And we also, by the way, have some breaking news on the NBA schedule that affects the Kings. The NBA Cup, the tournament, quote unquote, tournament has been released, and we'll let you know. And there is a rumor going around about how many games the Kings will have on national TV this year. Let me just say, if the number holds, I don't think very many of you are going to be very happy. So we'll get to all that in a minute. And again, Jerry Reynolds joining us here at 2:30. Put your questions in the chat for Jerry. Also, you can call the show if you have any questions. If the one thing I ask, if you do call the show, make sure we get in and out with Jerry, because I want to be respectful of his time, and then also want to give as many people an opportunity to speak to Jerry if they wish. Also, we're going to play a little game with Jerry. That's going to be a lot of fun. You remember one of our favorites around here is Guess the King, based on the audio. Oops, I guess I should edit my name. I am not Grant. I am Rhino. And I'm doing the haunted horse thing now where I'm talking about tech on the show. Something that you should not do. All right, now we're good to go. But we're going to see how well Jerry knows his Kings just by the voices. You guys did pretty well on this last time, so we'll see where it goes. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Again, 2:30, Jerry will be joining us. But back to Brandon Ayuk. There was also talks about the Steelers having an offer in place where it was basically a done deal, but the Niners weren't ready to sign off on it. Because remember, 49ers gave Brandon Ayuk the opportunity, the right to talk to other teams. And the Steelers, there was only a handful of teams that realistically were going to pay him that type of money and that could really use. There's a lot of teams that could use his services, but realistically, teams that were going to be in the hunt, were willing to be in the position to bring in a quote unquote number one receiver. And that's an interesting conversation in itself. But getting back to it, Brandon Ayuk and the Steelers and the Niners, it looks like a deal's in place. Some reports suggest that will be coming down at some point today. I'm not ready to go that far and say it's going to come down today, just because this has been a little bit of a bumpy ride, as you heard at the start of the broadcast. And then also the Trent Williams deal. I want to hit on that because that seems to be a little more favorable for the Niners. It looks like a deal is probably closer to getting done with him than there is with Brandon Ayuk. As I said, we will open it up to you on the phones. Let's bring in our man, Michael. Welcome in today, Michael.
Hi. Looks like the NBA schedule's out. I think this Thursday though. I know that we're gonna. I think heard reports that Kings will open up against the Wolves. I think this will probably be a TNT game. I think. What do you think? I think that might be it.
I don't think so. And the reason why is the Wolves open up on national TV 2 nights before in Los Angeles. So I believe that is TNT. We'll have to wait for the schedule to come out. Speaking, I might as well say it now. The number going around in the circles right now is 7 national TV games for the Kings this year. And that includes NBA TV.
Wait. Say what? 7 what?
7 games. The Kings, the number that is being floated around in circles around people in the know is the Kings will be on national TV 7 times this season, which is a steep drop off from last season.
Oh, okay. That all right. But speaking of the Kings, I think the Wolves probably will get, maximum amount allowed by the league. Probably. I'm thinking probably like 25. Not include TNT. Not include NBA TV. I think they're probably going to get a lot what they deserve. That's probably their most since Kevin Garnett was the Wolves. They're us brilliant right now.
Arguably they've got one of the biggest stars in the league. One of the guys probably at the front of the line to be the face of the NBA right now from a domestic
Anthony Edwards
and Anthony Edwards.
You see he's only 23 years old only, and he's already at that level. I don't know what he's supposed to do to guard him if he's that hot. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah, he's a freaky player. It's not about stopping him. It's about just trying to contain him. Really, what you have to do is try to keep him off of his spots.
Don't let him have the ball too much.
That too. But when you let players like Anthony Edwards get to their spots, forget about it. It's going in. And so that's why you got to make them operate outside of those. But still, they're going to be converting at a very high rate anywhere on the floor, as you pointed out.
Yeah, I want to thank for that national TV drop-offs, but it doesn't mean we won't do good. Just there can be a flex, though. We saw what happened.
I don't mind it. I'll be honest with you, and here's why. I think this team has a little bit of that underdog feel again, like they had before coming into 22-23 when they made the playoffs. People are writing them off. You've got
they were flexing twice.
Yep. You got guys like Malik Monk, Demonis Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox. They all feel like they were snubbed in one way or the other. And really, I would say 2 of the 3 were snubbed. But I think it's going to be a good thing for the team.
Yeah, with DeMar DeRozan, you create it makes it a little bit, and if he plays like better, I think it makes it easier for Fox because the defense now has to rotate. I see.
I agree. And here's the other thing, Michael. Make the playoffs. Then you can play up to 16 games on national TV.
I think so. I mean, I think this is fair. I'm just wondering I have to wonder because, DeMar DeRozan's been added though. So I'm just wondering what's going to play out. How will this play out for the national TV appearance and how will it, play out for the playoffs? So, but too many good teams.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Mike, thanks for the call today. Thanks for kicking us off, brother.
Thank you.
Good call by Michael. Again, Jerry Reynolds joining us here at about 2:30. Looking forward to that. Get your comments up in the chat. We will put those up as well. So to Michael's point, I don't think DeMar DeRozan moves the needle in terms of national TV games for the Kings. I think that if the Kings are going to get flexed, they're going to have to be at the top or near the top of the Western Conference and playing in games that matter. But like I said, make the playoffs. Every game after that is pretty much national TV if you include NBA TV. So we will see what happens with that. The NBA Cup, speaking of that, the Kings are in Group, I believe, A. Let me make sure that I'm spot on about this really quick because I'm just looking at, Kings are in West Group A, which includes Minnesota, the Clippers, Sacramento, Houston, and Portland. Now, what's notable about this is the Kings, a couple of their NBA Cup games were on national last year. They will not be. According to the rumors out there, again, the schedule last year, I want to reinforce this, was dropped on the 18th last year of August. The year before that, the 17th. As these games continue to trickle out, my guess is you are going to have an NBA schedule probably by Thursday. That way you get Friday to talk about it on the national shows. So there you go. And 7 national TV games. That is the scuttlebutt. So how do you feel about that as a Kings fan? Let me know. C-Dog kicking it off in the chat. JJ McCarthy tore his meniscus. Yes, he did. And for a second, Minnesota fan thought, we're going to have a quarterback competition here. He is not going to sit behind Sam Darnold. He's going to be our guy. Start him right now. Nope. He's going to be on the bench for at least no timetable set. But depending on the meniscus tear, and again, the plan all along was having him sit behind Sam Darnold. They were not intending to start him right off the bat. But you think about Novak Djokovic, he came back fairly quick, but it depends on the type of meniscus. But it is a bad break for JJ because this is the time he's supposed to be getting the majority of his reps. This is the time for him to show those coaches what he can do right now as he continues to learn that Minnesota system. So tough break for them, as you said. Derek chiming in on Brandon Ayuk, saying too bad that Ayuk is gone. Well, he's not completely gone yet unless it is broke since the show started. But yeah, that is going to be different for the San Francisco 49ers. Here, all I have to say is, look, I know how important some of these individual parts are to the Niners, and I know how great they are as a team, and I'm not going to open the can of worms about Brock Purdy having all the weapons in the world. I don't think that's fair. And I will be honest, I was that guy last season. I was that guy. Put Brock Purdy on a different team. Let me see what he could do. I bet you C-Dog could throw for 3 touchdowns in the 49ers offense. That was me. And now I've come around on Brock Purdy. But I do want to say this. When the Niners are missing one of their big pieces, they are mostly under 500 in those games. So I look at it. Ayuk, 2-3. The Niners went without him. 3-4 without Christian McCaffrey. 2-3 without Trent Williams. And then 8-9 without Deebo Samuel. So it makes you wonder, and I've used the analogy of a really nice sports car, and it's got to be running perfect. And when it's great. But if the littlest thing is off, it's clunky and you can't drive it. Time will tell, especially if Ayuk is out and headed to the Steelers. And wow, what a pickup for Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields could just hold on to the football. Now we might be cooking with oil, but no, it looks like that's going to be Russell's team to begin the season, although they are splitting first team reps. Dave, welcome in today to the Jerry Reynolds Tuesday show. Is Jordan McLaughlin a recent acquisition with the Kings? He was acquired quietly during free agency towards the back end of free agency. So within the last couple months, be interesting to see what he does in training camp. Did not get a ton of run with Minnesota. Don't put too much into his 3-point numbers because attempts are not that high. But, he's hung around in the league for 4 or 5 years. You never know what a change of scenery can do for a player. And I'm not comparing him to Malik Monk. But what I am trying to draw a comparison to is Malik had a couple of stops before Sacramento, and the Kings were where he revived his career. Now, I don't think Jordan McLaughlin is penciled in to be getting major minutes for this team, but you never know. You never know, as we saw last year at the end of the year. So certainly, hopefully he is a serviceable piece. And if he can continue to shoot the 3 ball with an extended number of attempts at the same percentage, you got a player, but he's going to have to prove that out. Peter, talking about our Pick'em League, got the Pick'em League invite, but got the following error. The invitation key is incorrect. That is because the password has been updated. So if you did get the invite, that's because you were in the league last year. All right, Peter says he got in. Very good. Let me put this up for everybody really quick. Here is the information for our Pick'em League this year. It's a lot of fun, completely free to join. What we do is we pick every week of the NFL season, we pick each game against the spread. So you are looking at that Vegas number and you are deciding which way you're going to go. Are you going to fade them? Are you going to take the favorites? What's it going to be? We tally those up. In fact, Yahoo tallies them up for us. I used to have to do that for hand or by hand. Not the funnest thing in the world. But Grant, myself, will be picking. In fact, Peter won the league last year. He's a part of it. So get in there. It's a lot of fun. We'll have a prize at the end as well. Peter, what'd you win last year? I think it was a $100 gift card. Compliments of Jay and Kathy Griffiths. So that will be really cool. Again, go to Yahoo Fantasy Sports, choose Pro Football Pick'em. You can search the league ID, which is right there, 11838, the password 1011. Would love to have you in on the fun. So make sure you get all signed up for that. Let's go back to the chat really quick. Peter got in. Very good. Correct. All right. Love it. Ryan, AOC or Gardner for the Raiders starting quarterback job? Good question, Romanowski. I kind of like the way Aiden plays the game, but how can you bet against Minshew? It's a tough call. Look, I'm going to say probably Aiden because he got the majority of the snaps last year, and him and chemistry is so important between receivers and quarterbacks. It goes without saying. But I think that is the better combination. I like his length. I like his size. But we will know very soon. I don't, by the way, Romanowski, do not pull me into this little war that's going on with Raider Nation. Alex laid it out for us yesterday that it's getting pretty intense between both sides, and I don't want any part of it. So I'm just picking AOC to pick AOC. We'll leave it there. So as I said at the top, you guys know what Tuesdays are. They are Jerry Reynolds Tuesdays. We are incredibly lucky. Every single Tuesday. We missed last week, but this week we are back live here on the Kings Court with the one and only great friend of the show, Jerry Reynolds. Welcome in.
Well, great to be with you, Ryan. And obviously, I'm refreshed after a week off, so I've been
Yes.
preparing the whole for 2 straight weeks for this show now. So I'm ready.
Jerry, I heard a rumor that you may have taken a day off of your preparation, and I almost gave you a call. But see, I trusted you. You're a professional and a good friend.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about me. I'm putting in the time.
I love
I'm
it.
doing the work.
I love it, my friend. So the Olympics all wrapped up. Basketball, the men win gold. What were your overall thoughts about that gold medal game?
Well, I thought, certainly the world is getting better at basketball, and
Hmm.
actually, my real impression is if Steph Curry's not on the team, the USA might be getting bronze. Uh,
Yes, sir.
I really thought he was, you know, I thought the team looked dead in the water against Serbia if it wasn't for Steph, and then certainly against France, he was a key guy. Of course, he's one of the all-time greats, and he showed it. He when they needed him most, he gave them the most.
No doubt, 60 points in the last two games. He led him to gold. And for me, that almost made my Olympics, although we like to root against Steph in the regular season.
Mhm.
What does a moment like that mean to somebody in the game of basketball that's basically done it all, but now they get that gold medal?
Well, I think for Steph, I mean, I think it's tremendous. Obviously he's done it all. Like you say, he's one of the all-time greats to play. He's won championships. He's won just about every award possible. But the one thing he really hadn't won was an Olympic medal, and
Yes.
now he has that. And I kind of equated to him to Scotty Scheffler in golf. Who obviously is the number one player in the world now and has won all kinds of tournaments and majors. But obviously, winning the gold in the Olympics really, obviously, emotionally was really special for him. So I think I think what we learned that the Olympics is very special to I think all the athletes. I mean, it the competitions is great. The best athletes in the world are competing against one another, and certainly, like I say, now we're seeing the world catch up a little bit in basketball with America. Back in '92 with the Dream Team, what people don't realize is that all the best basketball players in the world, the very best, were on the Dream Team.
Right.
Well, obviously, America had the most talent on this year's team. They had great talent, but Jokic and Antetokounmpo and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, Doncic. That's four of the probably seven or eight best players in the world. Well, of course, they didn't have enough help, but I mean,
Exactly.
it's a different circumstance, and so it just tells me, and I think with as the recent draft, the number of foreign players. It's going to get tougher. It'll get tougher for the gold. The gold medal is going to get tougher to get.
Yeah, Jerry Reynolds joining us here on the show. You can put some questions in the chat. We'll get to those in a few minutes. Speaking of the world and USA basketball, the Olympics 2028 here in Los Angeles, Jerry. And as you mentioned at the top, we're going to probably not be seeing mostly your entire starting lineup that you saw at the Olympics this year for Team USA. And do you think there's a different approach that Team USA needs to take heading into this Olympics, knowing there's going to be a lack of star power?
Well, I do think they need to look at some of the younger guys. Obviously, Edwards. They had a couple of some young guys on there, but I don't understand why De'Aaron Fox isn't considered. Doesn't seem to be, but certainly De'Aaron, Jalen Brown, who didn't make it, and not
Sure.
because of talent, but fit maybe. But find guys that really want to compete in it and deserve an opportunity, and then to where maybe they can give you two Olympics, that are young enough
Absolutely.
that that sort of thing. I would like to kind of see that. There's enough really quality young guys that probably deserve opportunity. I mean, certainly LeBron, just can't imagine him playing again, or Durant or Curry.
Right.
So there needs to be a real search. I was reading some guy talking about Cooper Flagg, the great young high school player that's going to Duke,
Sure.
and I've seen him and watched him in some games, and yeah, he looks like one of those guys. And I,
Hmm.
I was reading though too. They were talking about guys like Cade Cunningham and some of those. I mean, Cade's good, but he hasn't done as much as Fox.
No.
Yeah, he just hasn't. Scoring 20 points a game on a 14-win team isn't the same as scoring 25 on a 46-win team, unless I'm
That's right.
missing something. I mean, it just you hate to say that Kings players get disrespected, but I kind of think they get disrespected.
Yeah, well, Jerry, I think last year was evidence of that, with Sabonis not being on the All-Star team, Malik Monk not winning Sixth Man of the Year, which leads me almost to my next question. I was going to get to this later, but I might as well ask you now. Does it feel like the Kings are back in a position to be in the underdog and having a chip on their shoulder coming into this season?
I do. I really do. And I think they should feel that way. It's like, and not to say they haven't brought some of it on themselves. I mean,
Sure.
it was a case where, probably the expectations were such that, and they didn't meet them, whether accurate or not, everybody can have their own opinion. But, yeah, I think they're going into the season. And when people are talking about top teams in the West or in the league, they're never mentioned. And I think they should be. It's not to say that there's several teams, as biased as I am for the Kings, there's several teams I definitely put ahead of them.
Sure.
But I mean, to not even mention them, it's kind of silly in my mind.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. We'll get a question in really quick from Gammon. Was our draft pick wasted when we have such a steal like Keon Ellis on the team?
No, I don't think so. It's too early to say. I mean, the only thing I do know, and I'm not an expert on the draft, but I've talked to several friends who were involved and really studied the draft and really know the player. And they basically told me that this kid can be really good.
Mm-hmm.
That he's got a lot of dog in him, and that the reason he slipped to 13 was basically the shoulder, worrying about the shoulder injury, and some teams passed on him because of that. So, and I mean, are you going to get much out of him this year? Probably not. So in that regard, but really, when you draft somebody, you're really drafting them. You hope for 10, 12-year careers. And so I think the way I look at it is, and if he's really good, if he turns out to be really good, then he's a great asset and opens up a lot of other possibilities. So there's no downside to having a really good player that may not quite have the position, because you can always create a position, or you can always trade talent.
Yes, you can.
What's tough is trading non-talent. That's tough.
That's what you used to have to deal with back in the day.
Yeah, there wasn't many. You really didn't get much back. Let's put it that way.
Is it? I don't want to be the party pooper here, but based off of Gammon's question, Jerry, do you think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on Keon Ellis? I mean, he played great last year. I respect the story. I think the type of player he is fits in well for what this team needs, but the sample size is relatively small.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's reason to believe that he can continue to grow as a player, and he has to. And I mean, I think we have to look at it that way, that yes, he surprised us. He surprised teams in the league. They weren't quite ready for him. They will be. I know in the summer league, I thought he had 2 terrific games, and then 2 were terrible, actually.
I agree.
And so that's not what you want. But on the positive side, I'm a fan. I think I thought he and Fox were really good together. I'll be honest. I thought De'Aaron's defense picked up with Keon, and they really created some problems. And especially with getting DeRozan, you really don't need much offense from Keon. What you need is, hey, hit open shots and guard the crap out of people. And and then with we know what the bench can give you. Malik, he's still coming off the bench. He's still one of the best in the league for sure. So I like going into the year thinking in terms that Keon can hold that position and maybe get better at it, and the fact that he won't be counted on to score a lot of points like he was in summer league. That's a role he has. In my mind, if he's a double figure scorer, that's a bonus.
Yeah, were you troubled at all? Speaking of the two bad games that he had, and this was almost a team thing too. While the Kings were playing in Vegas, the turnovers were really high, Jerry.
Yeah, now I wasn't as disturbed by it as maybe some for this reason. I don't think he's a point guard. I think he proved that he's not a real playmaking point guard. He's
very true.
An off guard, and really with the Kings, that's not what they want from him. Basically, Sabonis and Fox will take care of that, and so his job is just like we saw last year. Really, he's not going to be handling it much. He's going to be basically a ball mover and a shot taker when opened on the offensive end, and that's the way it should be. So, if I were the Kings and I was saying, boy, he's got to be a playmaker and a point guard for us going forward, well, I'd say, boy, I'm scared to death of that.
Exactly.
But I don't believe that is by any stretch what he is or should be expected to be.
Exactly right. And I don't want to say that the shooting guard is kind of the diva position traditionally in the NBA, but the shooting guard is the diva position sometimes in the NBA. And Keon's not one of those guys that needs his offensive game to be going to play defense. In fact, it's quite the opposite. He gets going off of defense and turns it into offense. And to your point, Jerry, I think that's exactly what this offense needs with DeMar DeRozan in it now.
Yeah, you just need another guy to create havoc on the defensive end. And with DeRozan, you got another guy like Fox who's going to draw special attention, double teams. Sabonis does some. And so that's going to open up some open shots for Ellis, which we are confident that he can make those. But, the bottom line is he's a fit-in guy. I always say, you need those guys. You need to, it's kind of like the Celtics, Derek White, excellent player, but he's a ball mover, and an open shot taker,
And where would Team USA be without Derek White on that Olympic team?
Well, they wouldn't be as good. I mean, that's the thing, was he the most talented guy? No, but he fit. And, it's a team game, and it's not about having always the five most talented players on the floor. It's the ones that play together the best and fit the best.
Bingo.
So I think that's a real positive with Keon. I don't see any reason to believe or think that he's not going to be better. It'll be tougher for him because the league knows about him now. Mm-hmm. I would say, sometimes guys will kind of sneak up on people, and I think he did last year a little bit, but that won't be the case. The league does scout, and so his world will get a little tougher, but I think he's up to it.
He definitely will be up for it. And to me, a dark horse, and I know this name is not being mentioned nationally, but he did play with the select team, is Keegan Murray for the 2028 Olympics teams. For this reason, it feels like he's got some of that Derek White in him, a guy that can hit an open shot, who plays tremendous defense, and is just a great team guy overall, Jerry.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I just think I'm so high on Keegan. I mean, I don't expect him to be a 25-point scorer. I think sometimes fans want too much of that. I think what he'll do now that DeRozan's here, he'll fit in even better, much like Ellis. I mean, he'll get better quality of shots. Keegan's there's not a selfish bone in his body. And then he's also an outstanding defender. It's amazing how good in the second year it proved to be. He's a multi-position defender. So I think it's, I kind of see Sabonis and Keegan in particular maybe scoring even less than they scored last year, but at a better rate even. That's hard. Be hard for Sabonis to improve his rate because, he's for 5 years, he's been 12 shots, 19 points, which is
right.
Is top of the league. But I think with Keegan, I think he can get to, maybe 14 points on maybe 10 or 11 shots, a little more productive, I think it'll be easier for him. And since he's like I say, he's not a bit selfish. He's not going to, be hungry and be thirsty for more attempts.
Yeah, and I'll double down on that and say I think there's going to be more opportunities for offensive rebounds for both Demonis and Keegan, because there's going to be times late in the clock, especially if DeRozan is operating, that teams might throw a second guy at him.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you there. I think the teams will have to double team him in certain circumstances. And certainly crunch time, that's where DeRozan has been so good over the years. And, De'Aaron gets a lot of extra attention. So I think that's going to really create some spots to where, like you say, there's no defender to put a body on somebody.
That's right.
That gives you free reign going to the basket for the misses, if there are any. And so, yeah, there's just no downside, I think, for the way Keegan plays or the way DeRozan, what he's going to add to this team, in my opinion. I mean, everybody's got to be healthy, and Coach Brown's got to get it all working. But I think it's really going to be a fun team to watch develop.
I agree. Jerry Reynolds joining us here. Deadhead Jerry says, miss me some Grant Napier and or calling Kings games with Mr. Reynolds.
Well, very nice. I kind of had my shot at it and did best I could for as long as I could. But at 80 years old, the brain cells are starting to diminish. So I didn't want to be on air not knowing what my name was. So, I'm at the age I guess I'm supposed to be a political figure at 80.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a chance to prove yourself wrong. I've got a few clips of different Kings tuned up. They're just talking in interviews. I want to test your knowledge and see how many of these guys you can name just off of hearing their voices. Okay, Jerry?
Okay, all right.
All right. Here's your first one.
Loved it. Never went back to football and enjoyed it and just kept climbing from there.
Mitch Richmond.
Nailed it. The Rock, Mitch Richmond.
Rock.
You got a good story about him?
Well, I mean, with The Rock, there's always so many good. The thing about people didn't know about The Rock was he was great at impersonations. And he had Gary St. Jean down pat, and sadly he had me down pat. And
boy.
If you weren't, if you were very sensitive, you would spend a lot of time with hurt feelings. But anyway, that was he really had a talent, that a lot of people didn't know that he had.
I've been around some teammates that have gotten the coach down too, and that can get you in some hot water really quick, especially if the coach doesn't know that you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Good stuff there. Derek hopping in on the conversation. Keon has room for growth, and that's a good thing. Completely agree with that one. Gammon has a broadcasting, or actually, we'll go to this one instead. Gammon says, which Kings players do you, and this is obviously a guesstimate. We are so early into the process, Jerry, but which guys do you think could be shopped at the trade deadline, and which Kings do you expect to have a bounce back year?
Well, I do think that Kevin Huerter will have a bounce back year, but I also think he may be actively shopped.
Yes.
Both things can be true. I also could see a possibility, depending on where Trey Lyles might be, out there. I think he needs to bring a little more to the table. I think he can, but to get for the Kings, probably looking for more size, more proven things. I think those two guys might be part of the equation, going forward.
And Trey Lyles, really, if you take a look back, he never gotten a great rhythm last year. He started off strong, but he was injured a lot, Jerry.
Yeah, he was. He missed a lot of games, and he had some really good games, but a lot of inconsistency. And that's, quite honestly, if you look at his career, I mean, that's kind of why he's played on 5 or 6 teams.
Sure.
I mean, I think his talent is better than his production has been, and that's, to me, why he would probably be available via trade, because if the Kings look like they need more size and length at the 4, and more proven guy, well, he's certainly would be a guy that might be in the mix as far as a trade. So that's just a guess. I think everybody, is tradable, for the right deal. I mean, it's like, if they want to, say, well, that Kumpo was available for Sabonis, well, you'd trade Sabonis.
You do it. Damn right.
You would. That's as much as we love Keon Ellis. If Tyrese Maxey is available, you probably make that deal.
No doubt.
I was going to say, people always say, well, so and so's untouchable. And I said, well, Jabbar was traded, Oscar Robertson was traded. Just about every all-time great at some point has been traded. So it's there's players you don't want to trade unless there's an absolutely, you think's a home run deal. So there's that. But I think those two guys, probably and would be, just due to depth and what the Kings need, would be the most vulnerable.
Yeah, and to your point about Kevin, I think, like you said, he's going to get a better opportunity to have good looks again, similar to the looks that he was getting off the DHOs with Domantas Sabonis in 22-23. And if anything, that'll up his value if he comes back and plays well, Jerry.
Yeah, he's a young guy who's done it. Last year wasn't his best, but he's had, several years better than that, and he's still young, and no reason. I think he's still regarded around the league, and I think people will be looking at him. So, it's a big year for Kevin in his career. And I always tell players, you're not just playing for the Kings, you're playing for the league, because your career depends on that. And some of the, the best players the Kings have ever had have played for 2 or 3 teams before the Kings got them. Bobby Jackson or Doug Christie, they didn't start here.
Great point. Malik Monk did not start here. C-Dog, we're going to get to your question in 1 second. All right, Jerry, here's your second soundbite. I have a feeling you're going to get this one right off the bat, too.
Thing in the world, Bell, West Virginia, but looking back now, bro, going back there, there's not much.
Jay Will, baby.
The West Virginia gave away. I screwed up.
Yeah, Jay Will, man. You can't. Bell, West Virginia gave away that, but it's Jay Will. I don't know if you talk about going to Paris. He's only one most exciting player to ever lace him up for the Kings.
Jerry, Grant used to tell stories about how even Sacramento, the size of the city, and going around to the different cities in the NBA was a little bit of a culture shock to him. What was it like when Jay Will first came into the league?
Well, it was he was immediate ESPN highlights every night. And, the Kings, as Kings fans know out there, that's just not been the case before, and it really hasn't been since. But he was so spectacular. Now, he wasn't a great player, but he was a great, great handler of the ball. And his creative passing is unmatched as far as I'm concerned. And like I say, every night there was a play that Jay Will would make it just be breathtaking. You say you can't do that. And so, I always say ESPN highlights, and I always, so that's, he almost had as much to do with really putting the Kings, on the map, so to speak, around that period as did Weber or Divac or any of them, because, he wasn't as good as they were, but he was more exciting than they were.
Yeah, no, and he had some of those signature plays that were showing up in NBA commercials, Jerry. And for the Kings, that was rare. You'd see Mitch Richmond once in a while, but it was always a fundamental play.
Yeah, no, he was. It's like his highlight tape, which you see on YouTube and things, and Kings show on the videos every now and then. It's just breathtaking. He makes plays that you saw him make, but you don't see anybody else make them.
That's right.
Of course, I'd say with Jay Will, I used to love to go to practice which I didn't always love to go, but just because of him, because he'd do something unbelievable every practice. Now, some of it would have been unbelievably bad, he'd make an unbelievably bad pass occasionally, but it was still. I mean, it was pure entertainment. I made this analogy before. When I was a college coach in Georgia, I worked part time for Cotton Fitzsimmons with Atlanta Hawks because
Uh-huh.
I was close there, and Pete Maravich was there. And I'd always say that was the thing about Pete. Same thing as every practice, you'd say, "My God, I ain't never seen that before." That's you just it'd be breathtaking stuff.
If you're a coach and you see Jay Will doing the behind the back off the elbow pass, is that one where you just turn your back and you act like you didn't see it and you just let him try it in the game, or how do you approach that, Jared?
I think it'd be kind of like Rick Adelman handled it. He'd get on Jay Will, but he knew it's Jay Will. You gotta ride the horse that you got, and you
Sure.
just try. With Jay Will, you weren't going to pull that bridle very tight, and because you'd hurt his productivity. So yeah, I thought with Rick did it right. I mean, he'd get on him, but it usually in practice or kind of more of a one-on-one kind of thing.
Interesting.
Because Jay Will. Yeah, a little flighty, you might say, a little flighty. Yeah, I was going to say it kind of remind me, the old saying. There's players, you got to pat them on the butt on Monday and pat them on the butt Tuesday, and for God's sakes, don't forget Wednesday. Because
Love that. Okay, C-Dog. So, Jerry, the NBA schedule is leaking out. We have some of the NBA Cup dates. The Kings reportedly 7 national TV games, including NBA TV. And one of the things going around is the Kings may play the Lakers 2 times. They're 2 times at home within 2 days of each other. We've seen some weird scheduling from the NBA. Do you have a problem with this?
Well, I don't understand it, but I never have. I don't understand how they do the schedule, and every year you have some really strange stuff. Whether it's playing the Warriors 4 times within the first month or so, and
Yes, last year.
that sort of thing, which happens, and every team gets a little of it. As a Kings fan, we just see our own situation, but yeah, I don't know. I would like to believe, well, that the Lakers are always going to be a highlight kind of thing because of LeBron and Davis and all. And so maybe it's because they also think the Kings are going to be one of the elite teams. And so, the idea of a schedule early is to get viewers started focusing on the NBA season. And so I hope that's what it is, but it's a little strange. But I'll say this, I've said it a million times. Every team plays 82, 41 at home, 41 on the road.
Right.
And over an 82 game schedule, I'll tell you what'll happen. The best team will win the most games. If you're a good team, you win a lot of games. If you're a bad team, you won't win very many.
Yeah, and C-Dog, I would say this. If it's early in the season, hopefully that's when Bronny is playing, because the Kings can take advantage of that. But the road trip last year, the East Coast swing late in the season, Jerry, that was an odd one. I don't remember a trip like that in all my years of covering and watching the Kings.
No, I don't either. I thought that was, I mean, like I say, I'll never understand how they make the schedule in the first
Yeah.
place. And I mean, computers do most of it, but I always said the schedule basically will win you some games. You'll catch teams right to where you might not be better than them, but you'll catch them at the right time, and then you'll lose games for this very same reason.
Sure.
And every team gets caught on that. I mean, now you shouldn't get caught on playing terrible teams at home like the Kings did last year with Washington or Detroit. To me, that's I can understand it sometimes on the road because you're on the road and it's a long trip and a bad team can catch you. They catch everybody at times.
Well, the Kings were playing themselves so many times last year, Jerry, as much as they were playing the opponent. And a lot of those games are the ones that you are talking about. Gammon, thank you so much for the super chat. So DraftKings has the Kings over under total at 46.5. Gammon's asking us over under 47 wins for the Kings. I have my pen and paper ready. I will hold you both accountable. Well, I'll go first, Gammon, and then I will give Jerry the honors. I'm going to go over, but I'm going to let Jerry have the question. Jerry, you going over or under 47?
I'm going over. And I want to be held accountable.
Nice.
Because there's really no penalty I know of. Whatever you can do to me, it's already been done. There's not, so, but yeah, I think this team will be over 47.
Very good. All right, Jerry, I'm gonna throw a curveball your way. Here is your next one. It's not gonna be easy as the first two, but
Okay.
I think you'll probably get it.
Team, man, just watching, like I said, in the playoffs and regular season, they all play hard, not just victory. They play as a team, and it showed.
Any guesses?
Boy, ooh. Boy, that's a
Give you a little more taste as you digest.
They didn't really show any face expression when they was losing or when they was tight in the game. They all just figured it out and play hard.
He's close. I could see it.
Well, I mean, I recognize a voice, and I'm trying to, it's a voice I've heard, and it's like.
What kind of hint can I give you that won't give it away? His second stop was Indiana.
His second stop was Indiana. Ooh. No, it's not. It's not. No. Oh.
Dante Green would sometimes run on the floor while play was going on because he got so excited over plays that this guy made.
And he played at Indiana first.
No, Indiana was his second stop. He was drafted by the Kings.
Oh, is that Tyreek Evans?
Nailed it.
Okay.
Tyreek Evans.
But here's the thing. Indiana wasn't his second stop.
Oh, okay. I gave you bad information.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. You're right. You are right.
But anyway, yeah.
Pacers are the third.
Oh, that's actually about the longest conversation I've ever heard from Tyreek. Tyreek didn't. He didn't talk a lot.
He's a man of few words.
Yeah, he really was. That's a shame because he really should have been he had all-star level talent, and just a lot of things went the wrong way.
Well, sometimes point guards that play the game like he did, their bodies don't hold up. I would almost liken it to a Derrick Rose, Jerry.
Well, yeah, there's some truth in that. I mean, I thought probably he didn't develop the outside shot soon enough, near the end of it. But there was, alcohol, drug issues, I think, and that pretty much got him out of the league. He was after his Indiana experience, he was basically sent away for 2 full years, and so that was kind of it. But that's a shame. I mean, I don't know all the particulars, but that to me that was really why he just got with the wrong habits, wrong crowd, wrong whatever. But those are decisions that as adults everybody has to make.
Sure. Where's the middle ground when it comes to guys and their the people they surround themselves with? Like Mike, I'm familiar with Team Dime. Those guys, I ran basketball camps for Mike Bibby. He had his group. I know Tyreek's brothers were commonly around. You see Ja Morant has a group. That is not worked out well for Ja up until this point. What's the team approach to that type of access for guys other than the player?
Well, you have to try to control it to some level and hope they're positive influences. Now, it's like with Team Dime with Mike, that certainly wasn't the case. They were positive influences and kind of took advantage of Mike, I think. And same way with Tyreek's brothers,
Yep.
You would think family, but, money does funny things to people, and so as well as power and all that. And so, I've always said, I mean, you obviously it's no different than real life. I mean, you like to see players that come from a really good family, good solid family. Keegan Murray's a great example of that. Harrison Barnes,
Absolutely.
De'Aaron. I mean, so those situations usually they've got the foundation they need, and then an agent that is willing to not just try to make a buck, but be kind of be a leader and kind of a confidant that's positive,
Sure.
and a lot of them are, but there's some that aren't. Put it that way.
Yeah, I completely hear you on that. And like you said, family. That's the weird part about it. Sometimes that's how it ends up, family being the one. So, all right, I got a couple more for you.
Okay.
You're gonna nail these really quick. I already know these are too easy. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board. Here's your next one.
Back in Sacramento and also involved in a game that I always loved and I enjoyed to play, and to receive the opportunity.
Paige.
Nailed it. Got it. Absolutely killed it. And you're gonna go 4 for 5. This one's too easy.
Where my money at? I know where it's at in my bag. I know how it sits in there. I got my Bible with my money. And so there's one time on the plane, I went in for my money.
Mike Bibby, yeah.
Mike, yes, indeed. Oh my gosh, good stuff. Jerry, did you get your chicken and dumplings?
I didn't. I'm trying to be a good boy.
All right.
I have to kind of pick my spots. Being a diabetic, here again, choices, decisions. Sometimes, if it was up to me, I'd eat it every day.
I hear you. Yeah,
my doctor has explained to me that if you want to get past 80, you probably ought to slow down on that. So, but it's good stuff.
All right. Well, once in a while.
Nothing wrong with that. Got to, you got to branch out there a little bit and take but once in a while, as opposed
to a little balance. You got to have a little balance. Tell Mrs. Reynolds, I want to take you on a nice date.
Well, then I've got her kind of. She hates to admit it, but she likes it too. So,
I love it. I love it.
So it took a little while, like I say, she I don't have, but then I noticed, well, you ate everything.
Yeah, you can't. It's like the people that eat half the dish and they're like, "Oh, I didn't really like it." It's like, come on.
For if you didn't like it, boy, you didn't even lick the plate. So
yeah. Exactly. We'll get ready to wrap up in just 1 second. Jerry joining us, the man, myth, the legend, Jerry Reynolds. Yes, we are very lucky to have him here on the King's Court. Okay, so last question. And last year, there was a lot of questions about leadership. With DeMar DeRozan being added to this group, now 35 years old, a lot of talk about De'Aaron, looking forward to playing with him. Do you feel like there's going to be a different level of accountability in this Kings locker room?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think you hit it. I mean, I think DeRozan, he's a Hall of Fame level player, and he's got the pedigree, the All-Stars, the numbers, and he's been on a lot of playoff teams. And so he's been there, done that. And I think it'll be an easy fit for him. And I think the fact that De'Aaron, really the key to me is almost De'Aaron and Domas are so unselfish that they'll sacrifice some of their game to help him fit in. And I know from people around the league that he's, he's unselfish. He I don't think he's concerned about getting the same numbers, and so that's a key. In other words, everybody's got to be willing to sacrifice something. And I think, the Kings have guys like that.
It's a good group to have. That is a good thing to have to reel in rather than reel back. So
yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Jerry, thank you so much, as always, for joining us on Tuesdays. We love it. They love it.
Well, thanks. I enjoyed it, as always, and I'll start preparing now, for next week.
You know what? You take the day off, Jerry.
Okay.
You worked so hard.
Fair enough. I'll
okay.
maybe I'll wait till Thursday morning to get after it because I don't want to let you and the fans down. I mean, you ask great questions. I need to be prepared. So
I appreciate that. Just make sure it's the 16-hour workday like we talked about. Okay?
yeah.
Okay. All right, buddy. Jerry, thank you so much.
See you.
All right. Jerry Reynolds joining us here on the King's Court. Fun stuff from Jerry. What do you think? We hit a lot of the questions. Gammon, thank you very much for the super chat. Understand, if you don't get your question read, it's not because I didn't see it or I'm ignoring it. There's a flow to this. You got to stay in the flow. And if it's within the flow, I'll get it in. If it's kind of outside the flow, then I'll try to squeeze it in. But if it doesn't come up, I'm sorry. I'll keep it in mind, try to work it in the next time anything along those lines comes up. But where do you guys come out? Anything today? A surprise that you heard from Jerry? I thought that what he said about De'Aaron Fox and the Olympic team, very interesting. That's a name that is coming up a lot, and I mean a lot, in NBA circles right now as we way too early look ahead to 2028 in Los Angeles. And I think the standard for this team in Los Angeles is going to be a little different. Certainly, it's the Olympics. It's Team USA. It's playing on your home turf, but I think there's going to be an understanding amongst the fans that this is going to be a rebooted version of Team USA. And in my opinion, it's about time, as Jerry and I were kind of hinting at around Derek White and bringing up Keegan Murray possibly being a fit for Team USA. It's about time that they start looking at long-term building when it comes to a program rather than short-term like Team USA normally does, where you've got a select team, you've got your Olympic team, and you've got the feeder teams coming into those, but you only have the Olympic team together for really no more than about 6 weeks, 2 months between training camp and the Olympics. So I would like to see a more balanced approach. Now, I get these guys need time off. They've got to be able to get their legs under them. And most of these guys, you have to remember, that are playing for Team USA play really late into the NBA season. Most of them. Now, Giannis, not so much. And obviously, he's not Team USA. But, think about Luka, and did not play in the Olympics, but he was going for Slovenia. They did not make it there. Played in the NBA Finals, right? Think about, I could go down the list. You get my point. They are the stars. So they're probably playing in the postseason. So you've got to find that happy medium, but there's got to be some type of commitment, a little bit more, because this team in 2028 is not going to be good enough on paper to beat everybody in the world overwhelmingly. They're just not. But I think it's a great opportunity to reboot. And De'Aaron Fox, he said many times he likes his summers, but it's a different opportunity. Those opportunities to be an Olympian don't come around too often, and they especially don't come around too often when you play in Sacramento, in other small markets. But if I look at De'Aaron and Keegan, I think both of them would have assuming Keegan remains on the same path that he has been on over the last 2 years, I think both could have roles for this Team USA. I think Keegan could be exactly what they need in a Derek White-ish role. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, better player, but he wasn't a better fit for Team USA. Derek White was a better fit for Team USA. And the big man, that's going to be the big discussion point here in America. Who's going to play down low for Team USA? France, you're going to have to deal with them again. Yeah, Gobert won't be there, but there's a ton of guys that were drafted near the top of the draft this year. In fact, 2 of the first 3 picks, both French players that likely will be playing in those games should they pan out. And for Team USA, I can't count on Embiid. And let's be honest, Embiid did not have a great Olympics. He didn't. He had a monster game against Serbia, and Team USA needed every single point that he gave them. But I would only be hanging my hat on Bam Adebayo. Anthony Davis, he's 31. He didn't have a great Olympics. So who's going to be the American big man that steps up? It's not Zach Edey. He's Canadian. I'm looking really Walker Kessler. He was on the FIBA team in 2023, and I get we're 4 years away from this. We've got time to talk about it, but I just don't think the expectations are going to be anywhere near what they were for this reincarnation or iteration of the Dream Team. So interesting stuff about the schedule. Condog, I'm glad you put that in there because in El Cap, I want to get to your comment as well, but I do want to go back to Condog's talking about how the Kings are reportedly going to play the Lakers. Both home games will be within 2 days of each other. And Jerry said something that made me think. You know, there's the classic, and I understand, you know, everybody has to play 82, but the Kings benefited last year in certain scenarios, like against the Dallas Mavericks. Both times they played Dallas in Dallas. Dallas had a brutal back-to-back each night before they played the Kings. So I'm kind of okay with the double dip against LA, but I guess the question is, what's next from the NBA? I will be more bothered if we're sitting here when the NBA schedule is officially released and we're talking about the Kings having another East Coast road trip at the end of the season. That was brutal. And that was right when the injuries piled up, by the way. And that was unlike it. Jerry confirmed it too. Unlike anything that either of us have seen in our time around the basketball team. So I'll be looking for that. 7 national TV appearances, including NBA TV. That's a big drop from last year, but we're in the same boat, Jerry and I. This team has a little bit of that underdog feeling again, which is good. That's what this team needs. Come out, be pissed off. Us against the world. It's when this team plays their best basketball. We'll see if he pans out, Sea-Dog. Certainly, he could be an option. He's going to have plenty of opportunities in Portland. Did not have a great summer. Didn't have a bad summer. But yeah, Donovan Clingan, you're going to need somebody to move around Zach Edey. You can bet if he is healthy, he will be playing for Canada. You're going to have SGA 4 years better than he is now. Definitely, you could argue SGA isn't even close to his prime yet. So a lot to talk about. The Team USA will have no issues when it comes to the guard position, but when it comes to the centers, the forwards, and the question becomes, what is basketball going to look like by the time the 2028 Olympics roll around? Is basketball still going to be played largely around the 3 ball? Is the gate going to swing a little bit more back to the traditional big man? Is it going to swing further past the traditional big men to 2 big men like we've seen in Minnesota, like we've seen in Dallas? Both of those teams making the Western Conference Finals last year. So it'll be an interesting lead up and discussion as we get closer. Nope. Alberto, Lithuania for Sabonis. Lithuania. He actually played for their national team in the tournament leading in to the Olympics. Kings are going swept the Lakers again this year. Kings are going swept the Lakers. Good job, El Cap. No, I agree. I don't know. We'll see. I know this. If the Pelicans sweep the Kings again this year, that's going to be a problem. And that's why I asked Jerry that last question, because I do, regardless of it being a matchup thing, I do think having DeMar DeRozan in the locker room makes a difference in situations like that. I feel like the temperature, and although the Kings going in to that last game, the last play-in game in New Orleans, they were playing with a lot of confidence. There was a quiet confidence amongst that group. I still feel like the approach would have been that much more different, that much more better. A guy like DeMar DeRozan, like Jerry said, arguably, Hall of Fame, arguably, could be his last stop here in Sacramento. But having him in that locker room, I just can't see how there's not, double negative, shouldn't have done that. It's really hard for me to envision there not being an extra level of accountability, an extra level of there's no way we are losing for a 6th time this season to this team. 0 chance. It's not happening. We are going to go down fighting. Like, we're going to leave all of it and what's left over on the court if that's going to happen. And so I really like where the team's positioned. Again, the schedule last year was released on August 18th. The year before that, it was released on August 17th. So we should have the schedule any day. I would say Thursday at the latest. So the national media and the morning shows have Friday morning to talk about the NBA schedule. And here's what doesn't make sense to me. And tell me if you're with me here. I don't get this slow burn, this slow leak where, you've got a select number of guys, shams, who basically get fed the schedule like a little baby, like a little bottle of Gerber's banana food. Here, little baby, here's the Christmas Day games. Here, little baby. It's a bad look. Make it a big thing. Include everyone. And I'm not talking about from a reporting standpoint. A lot of the other leagues, i.e. the NFL, they make a point to turn it into an event with the schedule release. But instead here, it's like, we don't know when it's coming. But yet it seems like these people know the game. It's stupid. That's what it is. It's stupid. As my man would say, it don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense. Where's my guy? Tell him.
That don't make no sense.
That don't make no sense. Just come out with the schedule. Monetize it. Alberto, I have no idea. I do not know. I can look into it. That's the best I can do, Alberto. I'm not sure how that works because certainly some of these guys, they're born in America, but they play for their home countries. I don't know the rules around that. My guess is dual citizenship probably is the standard, but there might be language around if you are born there. It's a good question. Or you have one parent that's a dual citizen. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Not my cup of tea, but we can certainly figure it out. Hey, don't forget, we're going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock. Grant and I will be doing Open Forum Tuesday. Definitely looking forward to that. Also, looking forward to the next time here in about a week or two, getting down to Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Hey, I tell you all the time to check the website for all of their amazing specials because they update. Guess what? They have come out with a chill out with our summer specials promotion. You know what that means? You can get 2 courses for $30. You can get 3 courses for $35. It is a limited menu, but it is all great stuff on the menu. That is at all 3 of their locations. If you go to Bennett's Restaurants, reynolds.com. You can learn more about each of those locations, further check out those menus. You can buy gift cards and do much more. Let us know, by the way, and let them know if you go in that you heard about them on If You Don't Like That. Hit Grant and I up on X. One of us will most certainly retweet that. Dennis has been out there a couple times, so huge thanks to him. And again, huge thanks to Bennett for sponsoring the King's Court today and Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. All right, y'all. We are going to get out. Don't forget, Grant is going to be here 8 o'clock. We'll be taking your calls. We'll be talking more probably about the NBA schedule. I have not looked, but Brandon Ayuk, the trade is right at the edge of the cliff. Looks like the Steelers and the Niners are on the brink of making a deal. Maybe it has happened since I've been on with Jerry. Who knows? So plenty of talk about that. Also, Grant and I have not had a chance to discuss the CrossFit Games and what happened with Lazar Dukic. I feel like that deserves a conversation. I don't know if anybody else caught the CrossFit Games this weekend, but it didn't feel like there was much of a tribute or much of an effort to make a tribute be at the forefront of the games after he tragically passed away in the first event under questionable circumstances. So I definitely want to get into that some more. Alberto, shoot me an email, my man. I'm pretty sure you have my email address. If you don't, Alberto, there it is right there. That's also the league ID. That's the password for the league as well. If that is not working on Yahoo Fantasy Sports, remember, it's the pro football pick'em. This is not a regular PPR fantasy league. We are picking the games on a week-to-week basis against the spread. Hit me at my email, rhinoinsacktown@gmail.com. If you're having trouble getting signed up, I can help you out with that. But again, Grant and I back at 8 o'clock tonight. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on a down note, but I do feel like that CrossFit Games story deserves some more attention, in my opinion. And again, take the show whichever way you want to go. It's Tuesday. I'm not sure if Gammon's still here, but Gammon, are you going to be hitting us with questions today? Are we going to get some of those questions, the random ones? Those are fun. I don't mind those, Gammon. So let us know. Okay, good. Sea-Dog says it worked for him. Well, you probably get the red glove, white carpet treatment. Or wait, no, white glove, red carpet treatment, because you are a past champion, Sea-Dog. But glad it works. So there you go. Make sure you sign up. Huge thanks again to Jerry Reynolds for joining us today for Jerry Reynolds Tuesday here on the King's Court. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. I do apologize that we've been jumping around times. Schedule has been a little bit crazy. Learning the new system has been a little bit different. And quite frankly, I have had pneumonia for the last month and just found out this weekend about it. So I promise once we get back, and remember, the King's Court's going to be off the first week of September. But up until then, we will be doing shows on a daily basis, either starting at 1 o'clock. Tuesdays will be at 2 o'clock because of Jerry Reynolds Tuesdays. The rest of the week, pencil in 3:30. 3:30 will be the start time for the King's Court up until September 30th. So Tuesdays, always 2 o'clock. The rest of the week, 3:30 until September 30th. Huge thanks to everybody. Gammon, thank you for the super chat. Looking forward to seeing all of you tonight at 8 o'clock. Grant and I back for Open Forum. Hit it, Tadora.
Holy moly, Jimbo Bowley.
Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Glad you stayed away from Levine. Court is dismissed.